was really terrified on my first day of co-op.
I didn't really know what to expect, didn't know what was going to happen.
And I'm just thinking, I've never even been to the city and I just moved here for 6 months.
My first co-op was really scary.
I was a little nervous.
So I was just really excited to get that kind of opportunity.
And it was 100% intimidating.
I was, of course, so nervous on the first day. I always am.
I was quite nervous in many respects, but I was really anxious as well.
I've never been here before, and I'm not really sure what is expected of me or what I am going to be doing.
I think I was feeling pretty excited and ready to go.
On the one hand, I was really excited because I was finally get to see what it was like to work in my industry. On the other hand, I was kind of nervous because I was going to finally get to see what it was like to work in my industry.
The one big thing I got out of my co-op is that I really enjoyed teaching. Having experience as a teacher myself, it's given me a whole new appreciation for my own professors. And so I realized as a student, just showing up to class on time, the way you sit, any sort of interaction that students have with teachers, it really means a lot.
Okay, well, you definitely experience a lot of things firsthand. You've learned lessons and you've learned new strategies. And so working with children with autism and ADHD, I was able to take all those new strategies that I learned, take it back in the classroom, tell my fellow students about them, and they could give me some skills and strategies to take to my next co-op experience.
Everyone does different things on their co-op, and different things in the sense of different technologies, different products, different sectors, and completely different management styles that they're working with. When you get back into your classes after you do these co-ops, everyone is bringing a different experience and it all blends together. It makes for some interesting classes, definitely.
I would say that it was a really reciprocal experience when I came back to the classroom because my transportation experience is what I had focused on in my supply chain positions. So in my supply chain classes, I was able to bring a perspective to the projects we were working on that students who had only worked in, say, procurement or had worked in other areas of the supply chain hadn't had that expertise in. So it was really eye-opening to be able to say, I actually have done this before and tell me how I can do this better in an area that I was lacking experience in.
I definitely felt like I had a little edge up on my classmates going in, already having done it before. I knew the terminology, knew kind of what I was doing. It worked the other way as well. Taking skills that I learned, like simulation, for example. On one of my co-ops, they asked me to simulate, but using a completely different software package. So it was applying what I knew, but just turning it in a different direction.
We did an assistive technology course this past semester where we learned how to work with manual wheelchairs and power wheelchairs and techniques on how to instruct patients how to use these. So more advanced techniques like wheelies and things like that are actually quite difficult to instruct someone and do themselves. And for me, since I had all that experience from Spalding, I was able to kind of transfer that over to some of my classmates and be a resource for them. So that was very rewarding as well.
A big part of why I loved the co-op that I did was a lot of the patient interaction that I had and a lot of the members that I met. And I was able to tell those stories to my class. Everyone could just see how passionate I was about the program that I worked in and how much I fell in love with everybody that I did work with. So that was great to just be able to so seamlessly talk about my experience. And I mean, it was apparent to everyone how much I loved it, so it was awesome.
It really helped to kind of guide how you look at something like a plant when you're designing for chemical engineering, like how you would scale up this huge process and kind of account for all these different variables. That experience and that kind of diligence really carried over through my coursework.
It's definitely a lot easier to read something out of a textbook and think about a real-life situation. In class, we always talk about real-life situations, and it helps to agree to be like, oh, I've seen that.
And it helped so much during my classes, even critical thinking that I learned on co-op, especially during my second and third one. Coming back here and being able to apply it to the classroom and different case studies and journal papers, I couldn't believe how much it helped me.
I think each separate co-op has brought different learnings back to the classroom. One of my professors asked me to be a service learning TA for him. So having that experience with the Boston nonprofit sector was really beneficial in that way. I knew a lot of the nonprofits we were working with. My second co-op I did abroad. So that brought a whole new wealth of experiences. I was in India, so in the developing world, and brought back different experiences with on-the-ground international development type of work. So in my classes that related to my minors in international affairs and social entrepreneurship, it brought a lot of on-the-ground experiences back into the classroom for me.
Every day when I'm in class, I'm learning something new, and something might click, and I say, oh, I can apply this, to our business, or vice versa. I was in class and we were talking about financing small businesses and lines of credit, and I was able to take things that I've learned from running this business and apply it to the class project that we were working on.
So a lot of the learning that I've done has sort of transitioned to one co-op to study abroad to co-op. So that's sort of been the dynamic that's been really beneficial to me, is understanding how my second co-op in Switzerland has different academic bases that I can then transfer to my work in Johannesburg, South Africa. So my development has been more professionally oriented, with a little stint in the UK in between as a study abroad student, where I was able to flesh out the work that I began at Northeastern as an international affairs majors at a more sort of, I guess, just in a different setting, in a different country, in a different scholastic atmosphere.
Well, while I was on my first co-op at Boston City TV, I did a lot of B-roll footage and camera work, and I worked in a studio, and that kind of solidified my interest in broadcast and working in a studio and production. So when I got back to campus, I ended up taking a video news production course with Bella Adler, and I actually extended my learning from co-op in the classroom and learned how to do full packages instead of just B-roll, and kind of integrated that experience in the classroom when I got back, and it kind of refocused my goal or the classes that I took afterward.
It really changed the way that I looked at my classes and the way that I approached them. Before co-op, I approached classes the way I always had. It was a way to get a grade, take a test, eventually get a degree. After co-op, I started looking at classes in terms of relevance to my life, and it made the knowledge a lot more valuable moving forwards because I was able to relate it to the things that I was doing. Co-op allowed me to formulate really strong career goals early on, so I was actually able to tailor my education as I went through college because I knew what I wanted to do. I was getting a better idea of what I wanted to do, so I could take classes that would further that goal. I could work on project ideas that would further that goal, and I could even network with the right people at the university.
Co-op has really taught me what kind of career is right for me and what kind is not. Because I did all my co-ops abroad, sometimes I felt like I was missing out by not doing any domestic co-ops, and so during my academic semesters, I would also do part-time internships. And I would do the very typical in an office, in a cubicle, sort of more administrative office type internship. And these experiences were really different from my more hands-on experience in teaching and working with people during my co-ops, and I realized I hated it. I hate being in the office. I cannot stand being in a cubicle. I don't do my best. I'm not as happy, and I can't do my work as well. That's so important to know outside of graduation. I felt like I was able to save a lot of time and not have to graduate and then jump to different jobs and figure that out myself. I knew that even before graduate, I knew what's right for me and what's not.
I definitely think that co-op helped me to, obviously, like I said, narrow down what I want to do after graduation, but it helped me to figure out what classes I want to be taking, what career I want to be focusing on, and it helped me to kind of pinpoint what I want to learn, and the other things that I'm not that interested in, I can kind of put that to the side and focus on what I really want to do.
The biggest thing that co-op has changed for me is just my ability to exist as what I'll say a versatile person in this world, because I met so many different people on my co-ops, and I learned to get along and work great with all of them. And that's been the most tremendous thing, is that when you're in a job, there are no outs. So you've got to learn to just get, you have to learn to coexist with a lot of different people. And I've met people from all over the world too, and worked with people from all over the world. And I have a respect and an appreciation for diversity that I never had before.
Now I know what I'm looking for in a job. I know that it's okay to ask a question, and it's okay if somebody else doesn't know the answer, because at least you asked, and at least that way you built a new relationship with somebody that you may have not known. And leaving Northeastern, I have a network of not only professionals but friends all around the world and the country that I know if I'm traveling down the line, I have somebody that I can turn to, and I'm really grateful for everything that Northeastern's done to set me up to be prepared to enter the real world.
The biggest thing on the first co-op was really, and I think this is probably true with anyone's first job, it's really just the confidence and being able to when they present you with a problem, being really confident, not only in your answer, but just even in saying, I don't know how to do this, but I can figure it out, and going to meetings and being able to talk, not only just in front of people that are your peers, but also people that are in positions much higher than you, and very clearly say exactly what you've done or exactly what needs to be done or what you think.
So I think the biggest benefit co-op has given me through my growth in my 6 years here, it's a marathon, but it's just my critical thinking, just my ability to appraise the things I'm doing with a patient, to see and understand why they're in front of me, because everyone's complex. You can't reduce someone to a diagnosis like a spinal cord injury or a pitcher who tore his rotator cuff. You got to understand the whole picture and understand what's bringing them to you today, and you got to learn how to make a connection with someone quick, because I think that's the biggest thing. I think you have to appraise the things you're doing more. You can't just treat it as a flow sheet, like if X, do Y. You got to understand what you're doing, you have to understand why it works, and you have to be constantly questioning and learning, because you're taking care of other people. That's your duty, that's your responsibility to give the best possible care to them.
I'm like a completely different person, but in the sense that like I had a lot of like kind of leadership positions and things like that, so I knew how to talk to people, but it isn't until you have to talk to people and also teach them that it's a very, very different conversation that you hold. And it was something I was really bad at in the beginning, because I was really nervous because I didn't want to give the wrong information, because you're working with people's bodies, like this has an effect on, you know, their health. So it's a very different conversation that you have to have. But through all these experiences, I've just become very confident in myself, in what I have to say. I'm confident in, you know, realizing that, hey, I don't know all the answers. I'm allowed to ask questions. Like, I can tell people I don't know and go find out the answer. Whereas opposed to in the beginning, I remember in the beginning of co-op, I was scared to ask questions or scared to really answer people's questions if I didn't know, or I would like kind of try and make up an answer even though I wasn't sure if it was right. So just as a person, I'm so much more confident in myself, so much more confident in what I have to say, and just overall just like a bigger, better person and I can't wait to just kind of get into the healthcare field, because I feel like that's where I really, really belong.
For me, I didn't really know. I always thought I was kind of like shy and a little bashful in dealing with, you know, working with people, but I found that that's really what I enjoy most out of both of my co-ops. And, you know, really enjoyed working not only with patients, but with the fellow scientists and physicians.
I definitely feel prepared. Like I've said, the co-op, I think, make that way, just because nursing is so hands-on. It's all patients, and I think to have all these co-ops where I've done it makes me prepared.
So I started college as this really skinny, shy person. I was afraid to talk to anyone, friends, professors, staff, and the co-op experience has really allowed me to grow into myself. You know, going back to that first co-op where I was on the phone with suppliers all of the time and talking to my managers and my peers and learning from them every day. And then moving into this business that we started, it's really allowed me to gain that professional confidence in myself.
I learn differently now than I did when I started college, and I think that that's thanks to co-op. Just being able to try and draw connections and knowing that it's okay to make mistakes, and you know, because you're new, they don't expect you to know anything really. And I think I was coming in with the expectation that they expected me to know, you know, a certain amount before getting there. And I think that one of the nice things is that we're kind of a clean slate for them. And I think that's how I look back on it, and I'm a little different now in that respect, that I walk in with an open mind and I'm just learning a lot, open to learning a lot.
I think professionally the co-op's definitely developed subsequently a bunch of different skills that definitely involved improving confidence and abilities, and also were directive in terms of career paths. Personally, it moved me from kind of a vague idea of what I wanted to do to a pretty definite idea of what I want to do, and things I like doing within that sector. So knowing that I like international development, but what else can I focus on within that?
I feel a lot more mature. I feel like I know a lot more about the real world. I feel more involved in the real world. I mean, when you enter college, you're still sort of in this stage where everything just kind of seems like fun. You're in school, you don't have any responsibilities, but like co-op, it weans you into that level of responsibility that you need once you graduate. So for 6 months, you're living on your own, making money, seeing what it's like to work at a job, paying bills, things like that. And then you take a little break from that and go back to classes. Then you sort of gradually ramp up to getting out into the real world. Each successive co-op has made me more responsible as a person.
It definitely fills in a lot of the blanks as far as the classroom learning, and then what you get out of co-op is the skills and the confidence to go back in the classroom and know what you're doing right, know what you're doing wrong, and being able to adjust that quicker than you would had you not had that experience.
I suppose the culmination of 5 years at Northeastern that has been, sprinkled with 3 co-ops has created a greater sense of confidence for myself. I feel a lot more sure of myself and I guess at ease with the direction that I'm going, because it's easy to sort of approach the next level, the next step in life, and feel very overwhelmed because there's so many options. And I think something that I've distilled from my co-op experiences is that everything that I've done in the past is going to complement where I'm going.